Hey Sapiens. So today I'm going to be talking about parenting and why parenting. And parenting is a debateful subject, and a lot have been spoken about parenting and the different types of parenting and all. അതെല്ലാം കുറേ കവർ ചെയ്ത ടോപ്പിക്കുകളാണ്, കുറേയേറെ മലയാളത്തിലാണെങ്കിലും ഇംഗ്ലീഷിലാണെങ്കിലും ഒക്കെ കുറേ കവർ ചെയ്ത ടോപ്പിക്കുകളാണ്. ബട്ട് ഐ വോണ്ട് ഡിസ്കസ് സംതിങ് മച്ച് മോർ ഓർ see how parenting affects a person's individuality, how parenting affects a person's productivity and in the workspace. Because എന്തുകൊണ്ടാണെന്ന് വെച്ച് കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ one is because I myself, I come from a very toxic parenting background, and that has affected a lot of areas in my life, in my relationships and all this kind of stuff. So and I have seen in my whole career, I have worked with, and I have been employer and employed in both stages. I have dealt with a lot of individuals, and apparently quite a few of them, man, they're actually kind of messed up in the head, and it all dates back, or it all goes back to the days of parenting, and some or the after effects of parenting has something or the other to do with it, some or the other way. So man, seriously, talking about myself, എന്നെ കുറിച്ച് പറയുകയാണെങ്കിൽ I was born and brought up in a very orthodox Christian family background, and that was a very it was not something that I liked a lot, because in parenting you have, basically, and you look into the whole spectrum of parenting, there is 4 different categories, and the first one would be the authoritative parenting method, and that is something that was bestowed upon me. My dad used to be a very strict dad, and my mom used to always be scared of my dad, and we used to have all these yells and shouts and fights and all this kind of stuff. So it was traumatic to an extent, and it affected a lot. And being grown up that way, I had to stay away from family by the time I was 15 years old regarding studies, and then I started working from a very young age, and all that happened, and all that changed me to a person that I didn't actually like to become. And it was me then resounding back to my friends for comfort, and which I found none, because of I have mentioned in my previous episode, because I had to go switch up schools all the time, and things started getting really bad. And not just in my life, I have seen a lot of people, a lot of kids, a lot of team members of mine who has been infected with the whole parenting thing. So why is parents doing this? You think they like doing it? No, they don't. And how do we overcome this as childs or children or parents? As because we often, the thing is that when we are victims to a bad parenting, then we often try to impart that again onto our children, and that might, that's how our parents did to us. Or I'm not saying that all parents are like that, but in majority, in the society that we live in, especially in Kerala, authoritative parenting is something that is very common. You can see it very, very commonly, and the after effects of it is very, very dark, because most of the time, like you spank your kid, you hit your kid, and you do all this kind of stuff, man. And then my dad always used to vent out all his anger or everything that he had on his professional career. He used to vent it out on me, and then that used to be a sad part. But then, what I learned it in through the hard way is something that I want to tell the kids, if the kids are listening to me, is that you need to know, you need to set your boundaries when it comes to parenting, and you need to get educated. And parents, you guys really need to know that it's not you who's the end of the answer. And loving your child does not mean that you have complete control over your kid. No, they are an individual by themselves. And as young entrepreneurs, parenting affects the entrepreneurship world a lot, and that is where I'm coming into. നമുക്ക് എപ്പോഴും like I run quite a bit of companies, like in my whole career. So during my initial days, I have seen how my dad does business. So the way he does business, like in his shop, he used to be like the bossy guy, and he used to have his workers, and I grew up, seeing him screaming at them and shouting at them and all this kind of stuff. And then when I started working, and that was a bit different for me, because I still remember my first boss. I used to work as an IT intern for the first time, and I was fixing CCTV cameras and networking stuff and all those, basically. And I was just 17 years old, hardly. And but my first boss, he taught me a lot of things, and he taught me a completely different way. He was like more like a big brother. So he used to lift me up from college. He used to pick me up from college. We used to go for movies together, and things were different. But then that was not the boss that I saw in my dad. It was completely different. My dad was that firm and authoritative boss, and and actually looking at that, similar incidents that I have seen in my life or in people around my life is that every person who had that authoritative parenting held upon them later turned out to be employers who are very authoritative. That used to work. Or maybe it would have worked in the 80s or 90s, but it's 2000. This is 2024. 2023. Sorry, 2023, and we're stepping into 2024, and that shit is not going to work now. But what is going to work is, what if parents, instead of being this authoritative, what if parents start showing empathy? Parents starts relating to your kids. Parents start validating your kid that his dreams are valid. Because when I was a kid, I had dreams of making friends, and the first thing my dad would say was, "There is nothing called as friends," and it was a very disheartening thing for me, and that evolved, and it became kind of like a rebel thing, and that is what is seen in നമ്മുടെ നാട്ടിലുള്ള അല്ലെങ്കിൽ നമ്മുടെ ചുറ്റുമുള്ള ആ ഒരു റെബലിയസ്നെസ് കാണിക്കുന്ന കുട്ടികളിൽ ഭൂരിഭാഗം കാണാൻ കഴിയുന്ന ഒരു is because of that one peculiar reason. Because the parents, the authoritative nature that the parents have on their kids, that prevents them in validating anything other than their parents only, and that is a very sad thing. And to all those kids who are listening to me, seriously, at some point of time, if you feel that you're not heard, you're not, your dreams are not validated, your dreams are എന്താ പറയുന്നത്, ചുമ്മാ പുച്ഛിച്ച് കളഞ്ഞു, അല്ലെങ്കിൽ നിങ്ങൾ പറയുന്ന കാര്യങ്ങൾക്ക് നിങ്ങളുടെ അച്ഛനും അമ്മയും വാലിഡേഷൻ തരുന്നില്ല എങ്കിൽ, try making them understand. See, the main problem here is, as a parent, നമ്മളെപ്പോഴും we are not so up to date as the kids are. That is something that we have to accept. That's how it is. You're not as updated as your child is. Your child can be much more updated, because he has access to a lot of things. He gets access to fresh information all the time, and that's how human race have been. That is how we evolved. The better we are as generations goes by, and that is something that parents tend to forget. And we still believe in a completely different culture, where we believe that പ്രായം കൂടുന്തോറുമാണ് ലൈക്ക് അറിവ് കൂടുന്നത്, അല്ലെങ്കിൽ പ്രായമുള്ളവർ പറയുന്നതാണ് കറക്റ്റായിട്ടുള്ള കാര്യങ്ങൾ എന്ന് പറയുന്നത്. It's as absurd it sounds, because it is not right most of the time, because now science have progressed so much. So when you are reasoning out with your parents, you should first understand that you should understand yourself, that what you are talking about, and then you should be able to understand the fact that your parents do not understand, or they are not brought up in a background where they would understand an ecosystem like that. And by accepting that, it's much more easier to communicate with them, right? So that's the first thing. Second thing is that when this is the thing that I see in most of the young entrepreneurs right now, is like I see a lot of kids with a lot of dreams, like, and but most of these kids, they're scared to tell their parents about their dreams, because entrepreneurship is not something that is so welcomed in India, or that is not so welcomed in Kerala, because നമ്മുടെ ചുറ്റുപാട് നമുക്ക് എഞ്ചിനീയറിനെ വേണം, ഡോക്ടറിനെ വേണം, അങ്ങനെയൊക്കെയുള്ള. സോ ഒരു ഓൺടർപ്രണർ അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ആ ഒരു പ്രൊഫഷൻ അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ആ ഒരു കരിയർ പാത്ത് ഈസ് നോട്ട് സംതിങ് ദാറ്റ് ഈസ് very highly acceptable, unlike there is other Indian communities like the like the Gujarati communities, the Marwadi communities and all, where they support entrepreneurship and risk taking and all those things. But in our community it is a very closed one. I mean, entrepreneurship, risk taking and all is like, it's better off we don't do that things. I mean, so majority of the parents don't let their kids even dare dream into that. So it's hyper focused or narrow focused into one particular stream. But then try making your parents understand about your dream if you have one. And parents, something that you guys should actually listen, or you guys should actually, I mean, basically listen. You guys should listen to your children. I mean, basically understand what your kid needs. Because I have had so many incidents, because I run a foundation called Mavericks Pro Life Foundation, and I have had incidents where kids call me up in the middle of the night, and they have been taken to mental asylums just because they have relationships. I mean, that is really bad. That is really bad. You're not supposed to do that. I have done multiple videos on this in social media. I mean, regarding these absurd actions that these parents take. And ഇതെല്ലാം ഈ തോന്നിവാസങ്ങളെല്ലാം കാണിക്കുന്നത് സ്നേഹം എന്ന് ഇതിൻ്റെ പേരും പറഞ്ഞുകൊണ്ടായി കാണിക്കുന്നത്. അതായത് ഐ ഹാവ് ഹാഡ് കുട്ടികൾ എന്നെ വിളിച്ചിട്ട് like middle of the night or early in the morning. I have had incidents where kids have been dragged to mental asylums. വലിച്ചോണ്ട് പോവുകയാണ് ഒരു മാനസികരോഗ കേന്ദ്രത്തിലേക്ക്, ജസ്റ്റ് ബിക്കോസ് ഫോർ ദ ഫാക്ട് ദാറ്റ് ആ കുട്ടി ഒരു വ്യക്തിനെ പ്രേമിച്ചു എന്ന ഫാക്ട് കൊണ്ട് മാത്രം. And that person apparently is from another religion. So that is all. I mean, what are you trying to impart as a parent? What is the impression that the kid would have on the kid's heart? Parents are supposed to be those people that the kids feel protected. I mean, they should feel that they can come up to and say anything, and they can open up to them. But sadly, നമ്മുടെ സമൂഹത്തിൽ that is not the case. I never had the opportunity to go up to my dad and tell my dad I had a crush on a girl. No, never. And rather, എന്നെ ആദ്യമായിട്ട് ഞാൻ ലൈൻ അടിക്കുന്ന പൊക്കിയ സമയത്ത്, man, I got whooped so badly. Fuck, I got whooped so badly. And that's the case with most of the kids in during my era, at least. I mean, now also it's kind of the same thing, but things have bit more improved from that. But there are parents who are very, very, come on man, loosen up a bit, seriously. എന്തിനാ ഇങ്ങനെ മസിൽ പിടിച്ച് കുട്ടികളുടെ അടുത്തേക്കുന്നത്? I mean, the young days that your kid has with you, don't you want to be good friends with your kid? Why do you want to put up that Kalipan look in front of your child, man? Don't do that. Don't do that. I mean, those little hearts need your love, need your care, concern, and all those kind of stuff, man. So you're out there. If you're a parent, you're listening to me. I mean, you're out there, you're working, you're hustling 24/7. You're dying out there, and you're doing every single shit on earth. Yeah, trying to provide, trying to put food on your table, man. And then yet again, when you come back home and you want to vent out all that anger and all that frustration to those little ones out there. I did that, and that's what I'm saying. I got that. And there's a lot of other guys and other kids and other parents, and I mean, then this is like a ripple thing, it just keeps going and going. Someone has to put a full stop on that. So as parents, as adults, as men, let's try working out something else on this, something else working around that. Because these kids, and don't lie in front of your kids. That's something very, very, very important. And because my dad used to lie in front of me saying that he was broke, and that affected me as a kid very badly, because it led me into crimes. Because I had this, you have this, we have നമ്മളൊരു വളരെ എന്താ ഒരു ഫേക്ക് ആയിട്ടുള്ളൊരു ഇതിനകത്ത് നിൽക്കുന്നത്, ഞാൻ എൻ്റെ ഫാമിലിക്ക് വേണ്ടി പ്രൊട്ടക്റ്റ് ചെയ്യണം, എൻ്റെ വീടിന് എന്തെങ്കിലും വന്നു കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ. ആൻഡ് ബിക്കോസ് ഓഫ് ദാറ്റ് stereotypical shit, how many lives are getting screwed up, how many people, നമ്മൾ പകുതി കൂടുതൽ ആൾക്കാർ പ്രവാസികളാണെന്നും പറഞ്ഞ്, like they go outside. I mean, you go outside to feed your family, right? when it is the equal responsibility of every member in the family. It is not up to one single person, man. I mean, you go through all that shit for what? So when we think about all that, all those things affects a person as an entrepreneur. And even if that guy becomes an entrepreneur, he would become a boss. So now, if you're an entrepreneur, you're listening to me. Are you proud of being a boss, or do you want to be a leader? Like in my company, uh, in more than half of my, I mean, very, very fair, very, very rarely people call me as sir. More than half of my team addresses me by name. They call me Chahan. I mean, there is a mutual bonding between the relationships that we have. And then that is how, when you are an entrepreneur, that is how you should get your things done. I mean, see, being an entrepreneur is a very glamorizing thing in when it comes to social media. What you see is flashy cars, you see women, you see, people around the person all the time. ഇപ്പം നമ്മൾ അല്ലെങ്കിൽ there's a lot of wealth and like നമ്മളിപ്പം ഏതൊരു ഓണ്ടർപ്രണറിനെ നോക്കി നമ്മളിപ്പോൾ യൂസഫ് അലി സാറിനെ നോക്കുകയാണെങ്കിൽ തന്നെ how does it I mean, the flash, the bling, the drip, everything, man. Any kid would want to do that. But, man, entrepreneurship is the worst fucking shit that you can ever get yourself into. But unless and until you're that fucking passionate about something, don't ever get into this stuff. Because it is, seriously, it is going to break you in all possible levels. You will have all your freaking traumas getting at you in one hell of a second. That is what is entrepreneurship. And entrepreneurship mixed with bad and a victimization of a bad parenting, it just fucks completely up. It screws it up completely. So, and once it gets screwed up, you being an entrepreneur, you get screwed up multiple times. That is when you realize how a leader is born and how or why a leader should come. Because many of the time when you are starting a business, so many of you guys must have seen, നമ്മളൊരു ഒരു കച്ചവടം പുതുതായിട്ട് സ്റ്റാർട്ട് ചെയ്യുമ്പോൾ അല്ലെങ്കിൽ കഷ്ടപ്പെട്ട് എങ്ങനെയെങ്കിലുമൊക്കെ ബുദ്ധിമുട്ടി കുറച്ച് പൈസയൊക്കെ ഉണ്ടാക്കി ഒരു ബിസിനസ് സ്റ്റാർട്ട് ചെയ്യുമ്പോൾ നമ്മളൊന്ന് പറയും, നമ്മൾ ശമ്പളം കൊടുക്കുന്നവർ വേറെ ഒന്ന് ചെയ്യും. A lot of people have faced this, and immediate reaction to that would be the boss in us would wake up. But rather, and what we would think is we would be trying to reduce the losses in the organization by the boss waking up. But what happens is you don't tend to evolve beyond that boss thing, but rather if you would just accept that situation, try to improvise that person, and try to make the person understand or explain to the person what or how the situation should be handled or how the thing should be done, wouldn't that create a much more deeper impact in that person? And when you're running an organization, imagine, ഞാൻ പലപ്പോഴും ചിന്തിച്ചിട്ടുണ്ട്, ഇപ്പം നമ്മൾ ഒരു സർക്കാർ ജോലിക്ക് പോവുകയാണെങ്കിൽ രാവിലെ 9 മണി തൊട്ട് വൈകുന്നേരം 5 മണി, അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ഇനി ജോലിക്ക് പോവുകയാണെങ്കിൽ രാവിലെ 9 മണി തൊട്ട് വൈകുന്നേരം 5 മണി വരെ യു വർക്കിംഗ് ഇൻ എ പ്ലേസ്. ദാറ്റ് പ്ലേസ് ഇസ് ആക്ച്വലി യുവർ സെക്കൻഡ് ഫാമിലി, റൈറ്റ്? യു ആർ സ്പെൻഡിങ് നമ്മുടെ ജീവിതത്തിൻ്റെ ഏറ്റവും കൂടുതൽ സമയം നമ്മൾ ചിലവാക്കുന്നത് ഈസ് ഇൻ ആർ ഓർഗനൈസേഷൻ. And in the organization, and if you can't connect to the next person sitting next to you as a family, how are you going to spend your rest of your life in that in that position or in that company or organization? You can't, man. It's going to be a very big rat race. That is how, a lot of internal politics starts in organizations. That is why entrepreneurs fail in an organization. Imagine, like, I had my office in Calicut and in Mavericks Pro. Like, we are excited every single day to be called as a Maverixian every single day, because we work together, we eat together, we have fun together, and we did a lot of things together. But any entrepreneur can get themselves up to that level. But again, the thing would be, do we really want to? Is that really what we want? Because entrepreneurship should never be that one reason, I want to make money, so I want to be an entrepreneur, or I want to, money should never be that driving factor behind this thing. And starting from parenting to entrepreneurship, one basic thing that I want to tell a lot of kids, parents, and all these people who are listening to me is that, starting off from parents. See, parents, ഞാൻ കുറേയേറെ കുഞ്ഞുങ്ങളുടെ ജീവിതത്തിനെ പറ്റിയിട്ട് കേട്ടിട്ടുണ്ട്. ആൻഡ് ആ കേൾക്കുമ്പോഴൊക്കെ ലൈക്ക് എൻ്റെ ജീവിതത്തിലാണെങ്കിൽ പോലും ഐ എം വെരി 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 ഷുവർ all of you love your kids with everything you have, and I'm very sure on that. But let us start accepting our kids, let us start accepting what their dream is. Let us start accepting them as individuals. Let us start accepting them as who they are. അല്ലാണ്ട് അവർ ഇപ്പം മുടി വളർത്തുകയാണെങ്കിലോ അല്ലെങ്കിൽ അവർക്ക് ഇഷ്ടമുള്ള ഒരാളെ അവർക്കൊരാളെ ഇഷ്ടപ്പെടുകയാണെങ്കിലോ accept it, acknowledge it. If you're, I mean, if as fathers, if your son wants, man, go out there, have a beer with your son. Wouldn't it rather be much more fulfilling? Just think about it, and stop, criticizing your children in front of others. Stop condemning them, or stop comparing them to others. Stop doing that, or try to not do that. And kids, I mean, mostly it would be kids who would be watching me. And so, എനിക്ക് നിങ്ങളോട് പറയാനുള്ളത്, when you're young, when you're filled up with all fire and passion and everything, anything and everything that anybody would say, you would want to retaliate and you would want to be a rebel. And being a rebel is such a cool thing. It is not. Trust me, it is not. It is a very, very hard fucking thing. And when you decide that you want to swim against the current, you fucking seriously need to be well prepared, because that is going to be one motherfucking ass. It is going to put you down to your knees. Seriously, there's this quote in Rocky Balboa that I used to love. That I love the movie. It goes like, I know it's been a long time. Goes like, the world ain't all sunshine and rainbows. It's a mean and nasty place out there. It doesn't mean how hard it hits. I mean, what matters is how hard you can take it and keep moving forward. So to the kids out there, I mean, if you have felt and you have been victimized by bad parenting, learn to forgive, but learn to educate your parents. Forgive them for what they have done, or forgive those actions would have rippled and caused those immense pressure that you are facing today. And because of these bad parenting, many of the kids end up in വളരെയധികം ടോക്സിക് ആയിട്ടുള്ള റിലേഷൻഷിപ്പുകളിൽ end up ചെയ്യാറുണ്ട്. Main reason is because of bad parenting, and because they are not able to resonate. They're not able to go and talk to their parents, so they actually find അപ്പം മറ്റേ അളിയും പൊട്ടി വരും. ഏതാ മറ്റേ ഓൺലൈനിലെ അവൻ്റെ പേരെന്താടാ, നന്മ അവൻ്റെ ഏട്ടായി. അതെ, ഏട്ടായി. ഓൺലൈനിൽ കുറേ ഏട്ടായിമാർ വരും, പിന്നെ കുറേ ബെസ്റ്റിമാർ വരും. ബെസ്റ്റിമാർ വരുന്നതും ഏട്ടായിമാർ വരുന്നതും എല്ലാം സെയിം മൂടും വെച്ചിട്ട് തന്നെ. സോ പിന്നെ ഇതും പറഞ്ഞുകൊണ്ട് എൻ്റെ അടുത്ത് എങ്ങാനും കൊണയം കൊണ്ടെങ്ങാനും വന്നിട്ട് ചാടിച്ച് അണ്ണാക്കിയാൻ തരും. So what I was trying to say is that, yeah. So what I was trying to say. What the fuck? So what I was trying to say is, these toxic relationships, and kids, if you are in a toxic relationship, and just because you're not able to resonate with your parents, don't just get stuck onto a relationship. And mainly the people who are involved in toxic relationships are victims of bad parenting in some or the other way. Because my relationships have been really bad, man. I have had quite a bit of relationships, and trust me, it ended up all bad. It is bad because I kind of, what I seek is too much, and it ends up always in a coil, and it gets strangled, and most of the time it has to part ways. And majority of them are beautiful relationships, beautiful people, great people, and it's not the people's fault. It's nobody else's fault, but it's just your fault, because at some point of time you start expecting what you wanted, which you lacked, or which were supposed to be. You need to get that from your parents, your mom, your dad, all those kind of things, and that the urge or the craving for that builds up, and it when you find a partner, and it all bumbles on them, and then it just screws it up completely. So don't do that. And if you feel that you are suffocating somebody on that, let them go, and let it be. I mean, if you because sometimes I feel that I have my relationships have been on and off, and it's been quite fucked up all through the while. And I don't have much friends, so I have a lot of people who I know. I have a lot of people who I connect with. But when I call up to who I can call up to friends, or where I to people who I share up to, the the branding wouldn't be friends for me. It would rather be family. So uh, one of the reasons why what I'm trying to say is parenting, family, and all these things. Now, you can start bonding with people around you and form a family. It doesn't mean that just because you are a victim to a very bad parenting, you can't have a good life. No, doesn't mean that. I mean, you can find people around you. You can build your own support system, and people who are there, who are going to be there for you. But then you need to understand, I mean, we live in a society where more than empathy, it is much more monetary. Empathy is something that is very very ഇപ്പം ഞാൻ സംസാരിച്ചിട്ടുള്ള ഭൂരിഭാഗം ആൾക്കാരും എന്നോട് പറയാറുള്ളത്, എന്നെ എല്ലാവരും പറ്റിക്കുക. ഇതിന് മാത്രം പറ്റിക്കപ്പെടാനായിട്ടുള്ള ആൾക്കാരൊന്നും ഈ ലോകത്തിലില്ല. നമ്മൾ കറക്റ്റായിട്ടുള്ള സർവേ എടുക്കുമ്പം ഒരു ഹ്യൂമൻ റേസിൽ നോക്കിക്കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ 80% ആൾക്കാരും നല്ല ആൾക്കാർ തന്നെ, അല്ലെങ്കിൽ എല്ലാവരും പറ്റിക്കാനുള്ള ആൾക്കാരൊന്നുമില്ല. അപ്പോൾ എന്തുകൊണ്ടാണ് എല്ലാവരും പറ്റിക്കപ്പെടുക എന്നുള്ളൊരു ഫീലിംഗ്, തോട്ട് പ്രോസസ്സിലേക്ക് വരുന്നത്? Just because of the perspective. What do you want from that particular relationship, and what does that person want from that relationship? It's the perspective. So think about that. And parents, children, kids, who the fuck you're listening to. So, and if you're in a relationship, whatever that relationship is, and if parenting is some sort or some or the other way has affected you, and if that is the reason, or that are in the roots is there in you and is affecting your current relationship of any matter, man, I guess it's time for you to think about it. And maybe things can be a lot more better if you have a different perspective, and parents, and you guys can have a perspective change, and things could work out much better. But then end of the day, uh, it's all about how we see ourselves, what we do we believe in ourselves, do we believe in what we are capable of, what exactly do we want from life. One thing that parents should understand is that not every kid wants to be a doctor and engineer. And one thing that the kids should understand is that not everything that the parents say is going to harm you, or not everything that they say is stupid. But in both the cases, there are, yes, parents could say some really stupid stuff, and you could make them understand that, okay, rather than fighting with them. When you fight back with them, they would try to overpower you. Rather, just try to make them understand. When they say something that is completely obnoxious and that is completely not scientific, do that. And parents, one more thing, man, please don't fucking put your religion into your kid's head. Don't do that. Don't do that. Let that be your kid's free will. Freedom of speech, man, freedom, the article 15, man, there is a lot of different areas in that. So the basic free will should be given to your, that should be, adana empowerment in the first stage of empowering you as a citizen. You empower your kid, you empower your partner, the whole nations get empowered. The entire nation can get empowered, because when you empower your partner will empower your children will empower their peers will then later on become the next society, and that society will revolutionize how the human race was, or how the human race is going forward. So empowerment and empathy has a lot to do. So why don't we, I mean, try from today, I mean, make it like a small exercise. I mean, and do that exercise with your parents, with your partner, with your friends. If you're a dad, if you're a mom, if you're a son, daughter, whatever, listening to me, friend, call into that relationship, or giving you bitterness, call into that relationship, or think about that relationship, resonate with that relationship, think what would went wrong, why did it go wrong, was it your fault? If it was, this was the thing, this was your fault, resonate with that. And come in terms with that, because most of the time when you come in terms with the things that is affecting you internally, I mean, it works, it shows, it reflects a lot in your career and in your life. Yeah. So on that note, I'm leaving. So that's it. Be a good parent. Moreover, be a good child. Moreover, both of you, parent and child, be stupid and be foolish. Learn everything every day. Learn. It's every day is a new day. So with that, cheers. Adios.